You strike it, in an instant there is fire. It feels like nothing, almost like magic. But inside that tiny head is a chemical machine, one that took over a century to perfect. So how do you build a controlled explosion small enough to hold between two fingers? To answer that, a factory turns a raw log into a finished flame in under an hour. Millions of them at a time. Let's follow a single splint from a forest to your fingertips. It starts in the forest, with one specific kind of tree. Not oak, not pine. Matches need soft, straight-grained wood, usually aspen or poplar. The wood has to cut cleanly, but still hold a flame without crumbling into ash. Logs are stripped of their bark and sawn into short, uniform blocks. The first friction match was born by accident, in 1826, from a British chemist named John Walker. He scraped a coated stick against his hearth to clean it. It burst into flame. But before Walker's spark could be made by the million, the wood had to become something new. Each block is mounted on a giant rotating lathe. A blade peels it into one long, thin sheet, like unrolling paper straight off the log. That sheet is then chopped into thousands of identical sticks called splints. A single machine can cut millions of splints an hour. One large factory produces enough matches in a day to light every home in a city. The splints are tumbled and sorted, so only clean, unbroken sticks move on. Then they're locked into perforated steel plates, thousands of holes, one splint in each. Now the bare wood is ready, but a plain stick can't burn on command, it has to be armed. First, the whole splint is soaked in a fireproofing chemical. It sounds backwards, fireproofing a match, but there is a very good reason. Without it, the match would keep glowing after the flame dies, a hidden ember that can start fires. So the wood is treated to snuff itself out the moment you blow on it. Next, one end is dipped in hot, molten paraffin wax. The wax is fuel. It's what carries the fire from the head down into the wood. Now comes the part everyone recognizes, the head, and this is where it gets dangerous. The match head is not one thing. It's built in layers, and every layer has a job. At its core is an oxidizer, usually potassium chlorate, a chemical packed with oxygen. That trapped oxygen is the fuel for a fast, fierce burn. Mixed in is sulfur to feed the flame, and a binder of glue to hold the paste together. And a pinch of powdered glass, tiny, abrasive grit that creates friction the instant you strike. The splints are dipped headfirst into this paste, then lifted out to form a perfect bead. Each head is only a few millimeters wide, but its recipe is measured to the milligram. Early matches used white phosphorus, a deadly poison. Factory workers breathed the fumes and developed a disease that rotted their jawbones. The fix would change matchmaking forever, and today it's hiding on the side of the box. But first, the freshly dipped matches are still soft and wet. They travel through long drying tunnels, riding endless loops of conveyor. Warm, carefully controlled air hardens each head, without ever setting it off. Timing here is everything. Too much heat and the whole line could ignite at once. Dry and armed, the matches are almost ready, but they still can't light, not yet. Look at the side of a modern matchbox. That rough brown strip is the real secret. It's coated in red phosphorus, the one ingredient the match head is missing on purpose. Split the reaction in two, and the match becomes safe. It can only light on its own box. A Swedish inventor named Lundström patented this safety match in 1844. It turned matches from a constant hazard into something you could safely carry in your pocket. Strike anywhere matches still exist, but the safety match is why your kitchen drawer isn't a fire risk. So what actually happens in that quarter second when you strike? Hold that thought. Meanwhile, the finished matches are counted by machine, and dropped into boxes. A box you buy for pennies holds dozens of tiny, controlled explosions. Worldwide, factories make hundreds of billions of matches every single year. Laid end to end, a single day's production would wrap around the entire planet, many times over. They're sealed, labeled, and shipped to every corner of the world. From a forest in the far north to a single candle on your table. And that brings us right back to the question we started with. When you drag the head across that strip, friction generates a sudden burst of heat. That heat converts a trace of red phosphorus into white phosphorus, which bursts into flame in open air. That tiny flame hits the potassium chloride in the head and unleashes all of its trapped oxygen. The oxygen feeds the sulfur, the flame flares, and the paraffin wax carries the fire into the wood. All of it, the chemistry, the layers, a century of invention. It all happens in about a quarter of a second. That effortless little flame is really a precise chain reaction, held in the palm of your hand. One strike, a controlled explosion small enough to forget. Next time you light one, you'll know exactly what's packed into that spark. And if you think that's a lot of engineering for something so small, the humble pencil on your desk hides a story just as strange.